Looking at a different face of migration now, every year in the summer, Malta, the smallest EU country, tops the international news on illegal immigration issues. Only last year, the tiny island had to welcome more than 2,000 boat people, mainly coming from Eastern Africa. And so the European Union has promised a significant help to Malta, Spain and Italy, the three countries that are most concerned with illegal immigration. Anthony David Gatt, a TV journalist in Malta who covers the issue there, tells us what has changed or not since last year.
Today we still speak about illegal immigration in Malta, and it's even worse because there were some incidents in the international, which were covered by the international media, that put bad light on Malta. The reality is that still illegal immigrants, especially in summer, arrive tide by tide, 25 people each day, sometimes even more, sometimes even 60 people or more. And our resources, our human resources to cater for them, our physical resources where to put them, are being reduced and reduced very much. European Union has talked. European Union has talked all over again. European has kept talking. European Union might have given some money. I think it might have given some money, but the real burden sharing solidarity thing has never come into practice.
Enlargement seems to be a hot topic in Europe at the moment. The Baltic states have been seen as models of the success of EU expansion, with rapidly growing economies. So what can other EU hopefuls learn from those models? Journalist Redan Hoffmanite and Radioshow have that story.
We could share our experience. In Lithuania, the possibility to join the European Union was a catalyst for reforms. We think that it is important that our eastern neighbors would become members of the bloc sooner or later. Of course, Moldova should work on implementing reforms and must reach for the standards set for it. But in our opinion, it should be widely understood in Europe also that enlargement of the European Union brings stability and security to the region.
European integration for Moldova remains the main objective as a matter of internal and external policy. While the European Union still debates its future enlargement, Baltic countries have declared themselves lobbyists for the ex-Soviet countries that are not yet members of the EU. Back in the 90s, they fought for democracy, freedom, and liberation from the communist regime. As Lithuania became a member earlier than Moldova, it has engaged itself in helping her former ally. Lithuanian diplomat Artūras Valonis considers the integration of Moldova an important security matter for Europe.
In Spain, the separatist group ETA has broken its ceasefire with the announcement of a return to hostilities. This takes place 1 month after the success of the peace process in Northern Ireland, which was marked by the return to Stormont, the seat of the Northern Irish government. Our correspondents have been speaking to Spanish and British commentators about the conflicts. Firstly, to our Spanish correspondent Agnes Batlori, who's been speaking to Arcadi Oliveras, the director of the Catalonian Institute Justicia y Pau, about ETA's announcement and similarities with the Northern Irish process.
We should be aware that the peace process in Northern Ireland had ups and downs. This means that we don't need to stop thinking that the passing process cannot improve. We can keep on pushing forward, as well as Ireland did in moments of crisis. I can see some similarities as well as differences. Differences because here in Spain, we did not try to lay dialogue foundations. And second of all, there are the two groups, the Labour Party and the Conservative Party, who had been helping each other in this matter. But in the Spanish case, the Popular Party had been boycotting the process completely.
And now to our English correspondent, Naomi Sherbel-Bal, who's been speaking about the two conflicts with Thomas Catan, correspondent for the British newspaper The Times in Spain.
Historically, the two conflicts have been kind of compared. You know, they do have some parallels, and there's certainly been long-established links between ETA and the IRA. As the Northern Ireland peace process started to bear fruit and advance, I think everyone in Spain and in the Basque Country really played up the similarities. I think it was in everyone's interest to do so. So, the Spanish Prime Minister Zapatero was keen to be Tony Blair, and the head of Batasuna, Arnaldo Otegui, was very keen to be sort of Elbas Jerry Adams, and everyone felt good about this. But I think ultimately there are important differences. Perhaps the effort by everyone to make to repeat Northern Ireland has actually led the whole process to collapse. Among the most important differences here, the opposition has been very much against any sort of peace talks with ETA, and have made life for the government very, very difficult.
When some of the British participants to these media days booked their flight to Brussels online, they were faced with a new choice, a box asking them whether they would pay an extra fee to cover the carbon footprint of their trip. These days, it seems that everyone in Britain is talking about their carbon footprint. Christian Cummins looks at what it is and why not everybody wants to tick that box.
According to the environmentalists from a group called Climate Care, carbon offsetting is where you measure the carbon of one of your activities, say the last flight you took, and then you pay someone to reduce an equivalent amount of carbon on your behalf. Different carbon offsetting companies offer different ways of doing this, ranging from investing your money in tree planting projects to providing low-energy light bulbs for developing countries. It's a booming market. In 2005, the offsetting industry was worth around €30 million a year. Now it has tripled in value, and in just 3 years, it's expected to be worth 8 times as much, €240 million. Like all gold rushes, there is, however, sadly a risk of attracting cowboys. In the last year, hundreds of carbon offsetters have sprung up, and not all of them are honest. According to a Guardian newspaper investigation, unscrupulous operators were even trying to ease the consciences of jet-setting Brits by selling part of the Papua New Guinea rainforest. The tiny little problem was this: it wasn't their forest to sell. So how do you know where your money is going? The public needs reassuring of the difference between a scam and a good idea, and this year the British government announced plans to start regulating the exploding market through a common code of practice. But there are also concerns that the idea could be used as an easy way out, a way to avoid the more awkward challenge of cutting your emissions at source. One campaigner, Alex Lambie of the group Climate Change Now, even likened it to handing out free bandages with bullets. It's something to think about when you decide whether to tick that box.
And finally, today in the heart of Brussels, the European Youth Media Days will draw to a close. Over 270 young journalists from 27 different countries have gathered in the European Parliament to make media and, as their slogan says, shape lives. It's the first event of its kind in Europe, and young journalists have been very busy over the past 3 days. All over Parliament there have been camera flashes, the scribble of pens and bloggers burying their faces in laptops. Brought together to discuss how the media in Europe is evolving, workshops have focused not just on newspapers, but on over 20 different elements, including radio journals, dialogues, podcasts, web vision, PR campaigns and live articles. And what's more, the Youth Media Days website was turned into a live portal throughout the event so that you could catch up on the latest news. Organised jointly by the Youth Media Press and the European Parliament, the closing ceremony will be held tonight in Brussels Town Hall, where a showcase of the participants' works will be seen. That's all from us tonight here at the European Parliament.
You've been listening to The Scoop. We hope you've enjoyed the programme. Thank you and goodbye.